Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballerz? Welcome back to another discussion video. I hope you guys all had an awesome Christmas. For those of you that were celebrating, it was just such a nice break in pace for me, with COVID and everything. It was very, very nice to just have a very laid back day and spend time with the family. With that being said, we are back to content. We'll probably go straight through New Year's. We'll probably take off New Year's Day, but besides that, we'll pretty much continue as normal. So here we are getting back into the swing of things. Today we're talking about the winners and losers of the Set 12 ban list. It's a series we've been doing for the past several ban lists. Sometimes I split it up into two videos, do a winner video and a loser video, but this ban list was kind of on the shorter side, I think, in terms of impact. There's a lot to talk about today, but I think it's enough for one video, maybe not two. So we'll get into it. If you're new here, do subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. If you want to help the channel out, go down in the description. Tons of links you guys can use to help out there. That being said, let's just get started. So firstly, we have the first winners of the ban list. So No Escape Son Goku got banned. What is a really big winner from that? Well, you have two of the Set 12 strategies, namely Pikkon and Janemba, that are going to be big winners from No Escape Son Goku. This is the entire purpose of why No Escape Son Goku was banned. So basically, Janemba, you're being very, very aggressive in Janemba, and the way you're doing that is by the activate main, or one of the ways you're doing that is the activate main on Janemba, Bewitching Blow. He lets you bounce a skillless 2-drop or 3-drop Janemba back to your hand to play him. He himself swings for 2 criticals, and then you go into the rest of your Janemba chain via the Parasitic Dragon Ball, go for another crit with the 4-drop, go for 2 more crits with a 6-drop, on top of that drawing 2. It's kind of insane how Janemba works that way. Now, Janemba's in a bit of a weird spot because he is pretty much like forced to go off on turn 3 as where decks like Reboot Gohan, Vegex, maybe not after the ban list, but we'll see, and then like Red Broly can go off on turn 2, which gives them a big advantage in terms of being an aggro deck. But actually, there's so many ways to build Janemba, and there actually are some ways to circumvent that, where you can only go off on turn 3, and we'll actually do a video on that. I have a video coming up where we're going to talk about, I think it's like 5 or 4 different ways you can build Janemba. It's going to be a really, really cool video. Stay tuned for that if you're interested in this archetype. But there is a way to get around No Escape Son Goku, and I just wanted to mention it briefly. It's kind of a weird thing, but you could, in theory, play Child of Charge Janemba, which evolves over Psyche Demon, because the old Psyche Demon for the Janemba deck is actually very good. So it searches a lot of the stuff you need, swaps out for combo attack Janemba, which is very, very good. Then you can evolve Child of Charge Janemba on top of that. He's a 3-drop Janemba, so you could do your Parasitic Dragon Ball stuff, and you would still be able to get around No Escape Son Goku, but it's just more of a cleaner thing that they're getting rid of the card. No Escape Son Goku didn't really need to exist in the game. It doesn't really serve any real purpose except for being a major headache to these decks, making you play in unorthodox ways. So it's fine that it's gone. And the Pikkon deck as well, the deck just revolves around bouncing the Pikkons back to hand via the leader skill and some other skills, and you get certain amounts of value off of doing that. So No Escape Son Goku being banned, not really a problem in my opinion. This is like the one thing on the list that I like wholeheartedly agree with, don't have any issue with. So it's pretty cool that going into set 12, Pikkon and Janemba are going to be able to do their thing without the worry of No Escape Son Goku. A lot of people are talking about this in terms of like a ban that is just solely meant to push product, and I don't really like that ideology. Because why would you want this card? Why would you want No Escape Son Goku to exist and then like say that 2 new decks just can't play the game? Like, I would understand that argument if No Escape Son Goku was a card like BMS that could be played around, right? Like, let's say No Escape Son Goku only applied its effect while it's on the field, not like a permanent game-changing effect. I would understand that more. Yeah, sure, leave No Escape Son Goku in the format, allow these decks to have to get around it via some sort of removal. Sure, that's more of a valid argument. But when you have a card like No Escape Son Goku, play it, deflect, nothing is stopping it, and it just leaves a game-changing effect on the rest of the game. Yeah, it needs to go. I really don't view this as like a sales-making type of ban. It's just a necessary ban, especially when the design of a silver bullet like this is so bad. But anyways, we actually have a loser with No Escape Son Goku being banned, believe it or not. And this is one that, many people aren't even going to know about this interaction. It was one that I was a pretty big fan of just because it's such a cool interaction, but it never really saw meta play. So let me explain. So Kevlar Roar Destruction, Draft Box 4 card. Again, as far as I know, never really saw meta contention, but it's such a cool card. So 5-drop 20k double strike, activate battle, pay 2. If you have 4 or more energy and you choose 2 alien cards in your battle area other than the Kevlar Roar Destruction, return the chosen cards to the owner's hand, then play this card from your hand, and you can't play battle cards for the duration of the turn. Auto when this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. It gets minus 20,000 power for the duration of the turn. So again, this never really saw a meta play because the aliens you could play it with weren't all that great, and I would say they weren't all that great, but you know, stuff like U6, those are generally aggro decks. So waiting till 4 energy, not the best, but with future alien support, this could have been a very, very good card, pretty easily in my opinion. So no escapes on Goku. What it allowed you to do was you could play it in your own deck, and then you could use Kefla's effects, because Kefla's cost is just choosing 2 aliens. You don't actually have to bounce the aliens back in order to play her. So you could play No Escape, prevent yourself from bouncing back battle cards. You could pay 2 for Kefla Roar Destruction. You would keep your established board, and then you would also get the 2-drop 20k double strike with the piece of removal on it. That was just a really cool interaction. Unfortunately, now this is something that is not going to be playable anymore. I'm a little bit saddened by it. Not the worst thing in the world by any means, but it was a really cool interaction that I was looking forward to making work some way, shape, or form when the right alien support came out. So let me in the comments below if you knew about this interaction, because I think it is pretty sleeper. Again, not that it was ever like amazing, but definitely cool on the rogue level. I think it had potential in the future, depending on what kind of alien support we may or may not have gotten. So big loser on the ban list, of course, talking about Vegex. Trunks Elite Descendant was limited to 1, so the entire play of bringing this out on turn 1, turn 2, bringing out Vegeta Reluctant Reinforcements, to then later bring out Mass Sand Splintering Mind to both rip your life to self-awaken and burn the opponent for a damage. That's no longer going to be such an easy play in Vegex. It's still going to be a possible play, which is a little bit unfortunate, and maybe I should have put loser in quotation marks, because yes, Trunks Elite Descendant is a big hit to Vegex. It does make that Reluctant Reinforcements play, you know, not valid anymore. No one's going to cast Reluctant Reinforcements for 3 in Vegex. They're just not going to do it. So you're losing out on that extra mill 5. You could play Mass Sand Beguiled Warrior to get your Splintering Mind onto the board. That is still a play you can do. It takes a little more setup. You have to have the Splintering Mind in hand. You have to, you know, finagle your turn in a much more specific way to get that to work. So it's still doable in the deck, but it's not nearly as easy as it once was. Plus, you're losing out on that card again, Reluctant Reinforcements, that got your engine going so much faster. So what does this mean for Vegex? Well, besides, you know, other engines you might explore this, which there are a few other ones that could be very, very powerful in Vegex, the deck as it stood before, not counting on the set 12 stuff yet, the deck as it stands now is much, much more RNG based. That's always been like the stigma that's floated around Vegex, right? Vegex is heavy RNG. You know, you either mill a whole bunch of crap cards, or you mill like all your time agents, get a bunch of guys into play, you mill your unison, get that into play. So that was the whole thing about Vegex. People called it RNG. But with Trunks Elite Descendant bringing out Reluctant Reinforcements, that RNG was heavily diminished because you were milling 10 in one turn, right? So think about it this way. First mill 5, maybe play a unison and a Supreme Kai of Time. That leaves you 3 in the drop. Overwhelm Trunks Elite Descendant. Bring out Vegeta, mill 5 more. Well, now maybe you hit a Trunks, maybe you hit a Time Agent Vegeta, maybe you get one of those Majin Boos into the drop. So it just accelerated your game state really, really quickly, and that's a big thing that Vegex is losing. Now, other engines that Vegex will explore, definitely the Gohanks engine, which seems to have a lot of promise going in set 12. Keep in mind, it seems like that stuff was practically printed to be put into Vegex, which is a little bit strange. They would directly support this deck after how strong it's been since set 10 even. But it is definitely a loser on the ban list because of this reason. But there's actually another loser on the ban list thanks to the Trunks Elite Descendant, and this is what I was more sad about. So Trunks being an Overwhelm 3 means it's perfect setup for a deck like SS4 Son Goku Guardian of History, the Black Goku Xeno leader, as well as like another random leader like the Black Mass Sand leader, and any other, you know, Sand Black leader. Trunks Elite Descendant getting hit hurts these decks a lot. And again, it's not like these decks were overly meta, right? But in my view, instead of hitting Trunks Elite Descendant, I really wish it would have errated Vegex. It possibly needs a ban, but maybe if you errated Vegex to just bursting 3, or, you know, being forced to take life when you use the skill so they can't just play an elongated game whenever they want, something along those lines that would have allowed Trunks to live, these decks would see a lot more playability, because I know a lot of people really like the Son Goku Xeno leader, and Trunks Elite Descendant bringing out Reluctant Reinforcements in a deck like this is far less OP than it is in Vegex. One of the main reasons for that is Vegex actually continuously mills on the backside, as where a card like Goku Xeno doesn't. So you're still getting value out of Time Agents, you're still getting value out of drop area centric cards, but in Son Goku, unless they're already in your warp, you're not getting as much value in a deck like this. And then BMS is actually a leader that I've been looking at a lot more recently, also because on his Awakened side he continues to mill, so you actually can get pretty good mileage out of the time agents, again, unlike a leader like Goku, Zeno, or other black leaders that bring cards back from the warp on their Awakened side. So in my opinion, it just sucks that Trunks Lieutenant had to go when they're really just like banning around the problem. You know, when you had to, you know, do 4 different bans around the Vegex leader and Vegex deck, I think we kind of start to see what the real issue is. But I understand it's a star deck leader. It's really tough to hit a leader like that. I think a Narada would have sufficed, but it is what it is. These guys are unfortunately a pretty big loser on this ban list. Next up, we have Reboot Gohan, a loser. It's kind of weird to say it because, you know, it got banned for best of 1, and a lot of the online stuff we're seeing is best of 1. So yes, this deck does lose a lot of playability, but I mean, who knows when COVID's ever going to end. But when it does, this is probably going to be irrelevant. Like, the weird thing about this is, before COVID, right, when things were pretty much at a normal pace, the game was played at a best of 3 at every IRL event. There weren't really many online events unless you had like the random untapped circuit that you could find somewhere. But yeah, best of 3 events. The only real places that were best of 1 were locals, right? So it's kind of weird in the sense, like, let's just say things go back to normal eventually. You go to locals, let's say you have a best of 1 local. Do you ban Reboot Gohan and prevent your players, your local players, from testing this deck for a best of 3 environment? That is pretty strange. That's one of the problems I have with just making this best of 1 ban list. I don't really think I specified that it was like, you know, best of 1 premier ban list. I would say it's best of 1 anywhere, locals, premier events, online events, anything like that. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, it's a weird thing because when we go back to normal events, again, they will pretty much most likely all be best of 3. So do you just say to a local player, hey, yeah, you can't play Reboot Gohan even if you plan on taking it to a regional or a qualifier or whatever? That's a little weird to me. But I guess you could say he's a loser on the ban list. It's a weird thing. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. Anyways, so Dormant Potential Unleashed, big winner on the ban list. A lot of people were foreseeing some sort of hit, whether it was a Dormant itself. I didn't really see that coming. I mean, it's a very recent SR, and the card itself, I mean, I don't really think it's deserving of a hit. I think the most obnoxious thing you're doing with it is looping it with Master Roshi Kamehameha Origins. That is another popular opinion. I would have been totally okay with a Master Roshi Kamehameha Origins ban, or even a limit to 1. This is the kind of weird card that, you know, you can limit to 1 and it could be okay. Like, the thing with like Trunks Elite Descendant, I don't think anyone's going to play it at 1. There's no purpose to, because what are you going to do? You're going to put 3 or 4 Reluctant Reinforcements in your deck just to draw the 1 of Trunks? I very highly doubt it. But Master Roshi Kamehameha Origins, you could very easily slip the 1 of in your deck. It's combo fodder, it's discard fodder, and if you happen to see it over the course of the game, cool, I loop back a Dormant. If I don't see it, it doesn't matter. It's not integral to my game plan. It's just an add-on. In that sense, you could think of it as like an SCR. That's what a lot of SCRs are. Some of them are game-winning, some of them the whole deck is built around, but some of them are also just like, oh, cool, if I see it, makes my life a little bit easier. If I don't see it, whatever. So it would have been nice to see Kamehameha Origins banned or limited, but I mean, for now, I guess it's fine. And then another big winner, of course, Red Broly, one that a lot of players did want to see a hit happen for. Again, I've said it before, I really didn't see a hit you could do to this deck without absolutely killing it. I think the best way to handle Red Broly would probably be some sort of errata. I've heard some pretty solid ones, you know, prevent it from playing Overwhelm, put a similar restriction on it compared to the green Broly BR leader where you can only have so many Brolys on the board or so many battle cards on the board. Maybe even taking away this auto that replaces your board when it's removed by a skill or KO'd. That could have been pretty solid as well. So overall, I mean, we have the winners, we have the losers. Take this video, figure out how things are going to change going forward, start testing your new decks. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.